Hello, welcome to Dungeon Drolls Podcast. I'm your host, Justin. So what we're doing in this video is we're grinding in Dragon Quest 8, kind of showing where we are in the game. We just, because we're doing a review for Dragon Quest 8, while we're grinding and playing Dragon Quest 8, I'm going to be talking about my thoughts on JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Stone Ocean, which is season 5, which was part 6 of the manga, right? And first off, though, I just want to, for people who are, um, waiting on my Dragon Quest 8 review, this is day 2, well, it's actually day 3 of me playing this game. But yeah, we finally got Angelo on the team, right? Yeah, I think we're making good time because I think back in the day it took me like 20 hours to get Angelo. We did it in less than 10, so I think we're making good time. All right. Though I'm a little pissed off because he when you start off at level 1, you start to get like the skill points where you can you use skill points to change to get skills, right? So like you see like my main character has 24. He's level 16. He has 24 points in swords, 20 in courage, right? And Angelo's was level 12 when we got him. He only has 6 skill points. What the fuck, man? What the fuck? That is bullshit. They should have done something where, okay, because we got him later in the game when he's already already level 12. They should have gave us more skill points, not less. That was bullshit. Actually, I'm gonna switch to the boomerang. Right. So yeah, that's like one problem I have with the game is that they kind of screwed you. They screwed you over. Okay, he got the wind spell. So I don't know. That's just one thing that pisses me off. Right. Yeah. So before I talk about part 6 of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, which is season 5 of the show, because they combined part 1 and 2 in season 1, right? There's going to be spoilers, right? There's going to be spoilers. So if you don't want to get spoiled, if you go on Netflix, you can watch the first 12 episodes English dubbed. Right? But yeah, if you're a JoJo fan, you should almost like watch it subs because that way, because they in the English version of the show, they censor some of the music references because the mangaka likes to name some of the characters and stands after famous musicians and bands, right? And they censor it for whatever reason in the English dub. I don't know if it's for copyright or what, but yeah, but they fucking do that. It's super annoying. Yeah. So yeah, before I do that, I gotta say I was on the side. Cause I watched like an episode of Sword Art Online, and then when I saw that the new season of JoJo was up, I binge watched that shit. But right after I finished binge watching it, I went to watch a second episode of Sword Art Online, and I gotta say I liked the first 2 episodes until the fucking ending of Sword Art Online, the second episode. We got to the ending of the second episode of Sword Art Online, and I immediately dropped the fucking series because I already had my fucking problems with the art design, the character design, right? But like I wanted to give it a chance because like I had friends who are fans of this show, and I wanted to give it a chance. And I do own some of the games, but I can never get into the games because they keep. You have to you almost have to watch the show to get the game, right, to understand the game, right, and the characters, right. So I get to I watched the ending of the second episode, and it's so retarded, right? If people don't know what the premise of the show is, basically you have these new VR headsets called nerve gears, which sucks your consciousness into like the game world, right? And you can't feel the outside world at all. You can't experience the outside world at all. Your entire consciousness is in the game, right? So what happens? The guy who developed Nerve Gear and developed this new MMO called Sword Art Online on day one decides to remove the logout button and tell everybody in the game, hey, if you want to survive, if you want to get out of the game, you have to beat it, right? And also he did some shit where he made it so like everybody's avatars look like the real life selves, right? Which they explained that there was a calibration when you put on the nerve gear, so it kind of figured out what you looked like based off the calibrations, which I didn't have a problem with that. And he made it so if somebody tries to remove your nerve gear while you're in the game, you die. The nerve gear shocks you, which is like, what the fuck? And if you die in the game, you die in the real world, right? Which I kind of get. Like I kind of get why they did something like that, because a lot of people, which I don't have a problem with in anime where characters are playing a game, they put a lot of effort into like the fights and shit to make the fights cool, but for some fucking reason the writers and directors of these animes, for some reason, because they think because your character doesn't die if he dies in the game, but who gives a shit if we animate have these big fights when who gives a shit, your characters can die. I don't give a shit, right? But they do that, and that makes the fucking shows boring, which is why a lot of people can't enjoy fucking Dot Hack, right? Because all your characters don't die. So what's the problem? Even though our characters can go into a coma, right? Right. So I get that, but it's like, what the fuck, man? So having characters, the character die if they die in the game makes it more intriguing. Right? But I just really hate, because what ends up happening, our character was a beta tester, right? And because beta testers, 2000, apparently 2,000 players died on after a month, right? Because the second episode takes place a month after the first episode. So you have these retarded beginners, rookies, who hate the beta testers, right? Because they feel like they didn't do enough, even though they put out guidebooks for free, right? To help the new players, right? You have this thing where all the best players of the game so far have this meeting, and they go and try to take down the boss of the first floor, because there's like this like dungeon tower they have to get to the top of to beat the game, right? And what ends up happening is the guy who ran this boss raid was a fucking idiot who was trying to get the final hit on the boss before he died, so he can get like a rare item, which turns out to be Kirito's iconic black leather coat, right, or black coat, right, and he dies, and Kirito and his female partner, because that's another problem I have with this series, is the fucking harem building. The show didn't need that, but it's in the books, and like, that fucking, how many fucking girls do you know actually play MMOs, right? Like, I swear to God, like, a lot of the time, when I used to play MMOs, and like, I would have like female party members, and then like, they would like, after a week or two or whatever, after spending like whatever time, they'll be with them, they'll be like, oh, I'm actually a guy, right? It's like, no shit, you were actually a fucking guy, right? So it's like, it's just retarded, like, all these like girls in this fucking series, right? I don't know. But yeah, so what ends up happening is that Kirito kills the boss, and the one retarded guy like blames the beta testers in the boss raid for the main character, for the one dude who was in charge of the boss raid for dying, when it's his own fucking fault for getting greedy and trying to get the fuking, to try to get the fucking final hit so he can get the rare item, right? So it's and the fact is only beta testers knew about that anyway. So like, he actually exposed himself for being a beta tester. But Kirito does this retarded thing, instead of like, calling out the idiot, saying, retard, I'm a beta tester, that guy was a beta tester, your boss was obviously a beta tester because he was trying to get the fucking rare item. We need to focus on beating the game, right? We can't just keep pointing fingers, okay? We need to focus on surviving and beating the game, right? He plays the anti-hero bad guy, where he's like, haha, yes, I knew about the final boss, which used a different sword, and I knew his attack patterns, right? He plays the bad guy, right? And it's like, for the life of me, and he doesn't explain why he does this, but for the life of me, he plays the villain, right? And becomes alienated by the rest of the players. How does that help you fucking beat the game? That made no sense to me. Like, that was retarded, right? Because he should be trying to bring everybody together, right? Or kicking that loudmouth idiot out of the fucking group. No, the best player, decides to like, play the bad guy and just leave, right? When like, he's like their best hope for beating the game. It's like so fucking retarded, right? So retarded. I'm supposed to be talking about Jojo Stone Ocean, but I'm just so fucking pissed off at the Sword Art Online, and the people actually like this shit. It's like, you like this shit, retards, because you weren't around for Dot Hack, right? Which the animes were good, but it's the thing where it wasn't meant for like shonen fanboys. It was meant for like, serious serious people, right? You play the Dot Hack games for the shonen bullshit, right? Well, since he's equipped with a bow, let's do that. See if we get. Oh my god, he didn't learn any bow skills. Fucking hell. Oh, I don't even need to like run around. I can just use whistle to summon monsters. Yeah. So like now we're gonna talk about JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, which season 6 or part 6, sorry, takes place in 2011, right? And it's about JoJo's daughter, who I'm a little confused on how old she's supposed to be, because I think they said she was like 14 or 15, right? And okay, that doesn't make sense to me that she would go to like a maximum security prison, because the show takes place in a maximum security prison, right? In Florida, which is like, what the fuck? And the Florida elements actually do. There are parts of the show where the plot does revolve around it being like in Florida, right? So like the story for this is like Jolene Cujo, who's the daughter of Jotaro Kujo and this American woman, are living in Florida, and she and her boyfriend are like going are accidentally hit and run a guy who apparently who they thought was dead, was still alive, and they leave his body out in the marsh, right? And what ends up happening is she gets framed, basically framed for the whole thing, and her boyfriend's lawyer, who has like ears like a fucking elf for some fucking reason. That's the thing. There's a lot of goofy character designs that like where the characters look unhuman, but we're supposed to ignore it. Like the warden. The warden looks like a fucking alien, and he has like this pink, like hand puppet, crocodile puppet called Charlotte, right? So yeah, Jolene Cujo gets framed for basically hit or run murder and goes to jail, right? And her father gives her a pendant, what looks like a lot like a pendant that Giovanni Giorgio had in part 5, right? Which actually has like a piece of the arrow tip, right? Which gives people stand power. So she gets a stand power and calls it Stone Ocean, right? And it's basically it's this stand made out of string, which has a crazy range, right? But but it has the second form where it bundles up together to make like a person, and then like it becomes a super powerful stand, right? Which a lot of people, compare it to Hierophant Green, right? Because because it can stretch itself out, right? Like very similar to Hierophant Green, right? So so like the premise of the show, right? For like the first couple episodes, she's just for the first 2 episodes is like they introduce her in jail, they introduce her stand, right? And like she's just trying to survive jail. It's like female Oz, right? Which they establish in the prison, which is called Green Dolphin Prison, has like a male wing and a female wing. So there are male and female prisoners at this prison, but obviously they're separated, right? And like she's in jail, and then like her father, and like there's like a 3-parter episode from like I think it's like episode 3 the episode 5 or whatever, where Jotaro Kujo shows up, right, and explains what the actual plot of the show is. Where basically, it wasn't her boyfriend who set her up, it was actually one of Dio's old enemies, whose Stan is like, well, it turns out that guy actually, his name is John Gallier, and his stand, he's like a blind sniper who has a stand called Satellite of Love, right? Which is obviously a name of a song, right? I forget the guy's name, but like, yeah, it's a song. And he's actually working for this guy who, I'm not going to reveal his identity, but he has a stand called White Snake. Well, it's called Pale Snake in the English dub, right? So what ends up happening is that they actually set up, the events to make sure that she would go to prison, right? So these guys would, so Jotaro would show up, who's like a marine biologist, right? And despite the fact that he must be like in his 40s or early 50s, he still looks young, right? He still looks like he did in part 4 of the show, which was like 20, which if I do my math right, he should be what, like, if he was 29 in part 4, he should be at least 49, because this takes place what, like 20 years after, 20 years after part 4. I don't even know, man. And like, yeah, so like, which part 4 took place, what, in the 90s? Yeah, I think it did. So did part 5, actually. So yeah, like, apparently they set up this, they did this also they could bring Jotaro Kujo to the prison, and because like White Snake has this ability to steal people's memories and stands through discs, right? So like what ends up happening is they end up stealing Jotaro Kujo's stand and memories, and like the plot of the show is Jolene Kujo and her allies, right, which she doesn't have many allies in the show. I'm not even going to go into them because I don't have a lot of time. Is trying to get the her father's memories and stand back, so they can bring him back to life, because he'll, as long as his corpse doesn't rot, which the Speedwagon Foundation, which is named after REO Speedwagon, is like looking after the. I love how they didn't censor Speedwagon, but they censor like almost everything else from the, right. They can bring him back to life, right? So I gotta say, when I didn't know before I started watching the show that it was gonna take, oh fuck, was gonna take place. The show was going to take place in a prison, right? But like having it be in like a Florida prison, I thought was pretty cool, especially because there's like there's like episode where they have to look for escaped convicts, and they end up in like this they end up in a swamp, and they have to look out for alligators. I thought they were going to have like an alligator with a stand. That would have been fucking awesome, but they didn't. What they did is there's this character called FF who becomes an ally of she was a bad guy, but then she became a good guy, who's like this fucking creature that looks like a stand, but it's actually amoeba that turned itself kind of humanoid, and it looks like a stand, and it becomes one of the allies of the show. It's like, what the fuck? And there's like a scene where like literally, apparently in Florida, they get this a lot, where like fucking frogs or fucking like snakes will this rain down from the fucking sky? I love how atheists are like, God's not real. Fucking, there's like, like reported events of fucking, like, frogs and snakes falling from the fucking sky. If that's not proof God doesn't, that God exists, I don't know what will convince these people. Right? And the reported, like, reason why this shit happens is because, hurricanes or tornadoes will suck up, like, millions of, snakes or frogs, and will, will drop them. If that was true, why wouldn't it be, like, a bunch of shit? It wouldn't just be, like, snakes and frogs or whatever. It would be, like, a bunch of shit. Whatever, or rocks, too, right? So, obviously, God exists. Which, that happens in the show, right? Where, like, where poison fucking frogs from South America falls down from the sky and almost kills our main character and the bad guy of the show, right? In the last episode of, in like the 12th episode, right? Which, I don't know when they're gonna release part 2, but man, I can't wait. At first, when I found out it was gonna take place, in American prison, right, in Florida, I was a little, like, annoyed, because, like, you usually, like, Jojo is kind of known for its exotic locales, right? And, for to have, like, the whole show take place in, like, a prison, which I wouldn't mind if they gave it, like, an Oz feel, because I actually like the show Oz. There was, like, only, like, 1 or 2 episodes where it kind of felt like Oz, but not really. Yeah, so, like, I don't know. If they have more of that, I'll enjoy. But yeah, I don't know. So far, I'm liking the show, though I kind of didn't like that, like, the first couple episodes, Jolene came off as kind of a dummy, which I didn't mind, because, like, and then, like, after a couple episodes, she's smart like her dad now. It's like, what the fuck? She was kind of a ditz, shallow girl, and then now she's, like, super smart and shit. It's like, she's just like her dad. I don't know. I didn't like that she's, like, too much like her. She's basically like a female version of her dad, right? And yeah, that's about all. The camera's gonna run out of memory soon. So, like, yeah, that's it for this video, guys. Let me know if you're watching Stone Ocean 2 and what you thought about it.